10% less for car and home insurance, brought to you by Woolworths. That's 10% less for 100% peace of mind. And get 2,000 Rand handbag cover, 2,000 Rand grocery cover, as well as 24/7 emergency roadside assistance. For a free quote, SMS breakfast now to 42710. Insurance brought to you by Woolworths. That's the difference. Pay 10% less for 100% peace of mind. SMS breakfast to 42710.
Welcome back to Expresso, live on SABC3. It's time for your finance talk this morning. This morning, we're focusing on the advantages and disadvantages of credit cards, because most people see them as kind of just a trap to get you into debt. And because I think it's mostly because they don't understand how credit cards work. But we do have somebody who understands exactly how they work. That's Mr. Warren Wilkinson. Sir, how are you?
We hope so.
Lovely. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. It's just very quick, eh?
Yeah. Who are you supporting this weekend?
Stormers, of course, and they kicked off the weekend on a very good note. And then disappointing for the Sharks. I was very sad for them, but yeah, it's one of those things.
I didn't use my credit card to buy Stormers rugby jerseys, but tell me about credit cards. Exactly why do people fear them so much? Because it seems like a trap into debt.
Yeah. Look, Katleko, if we look at what happened in the financial crisis, the stats that came out from the United States was the average American had 11 credit cards. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you've got
11 credit cards is ridiculous.
Yeah, 11. So, you know, if you've got 1 or 2 and you're finding it a little bit tight, you know, take a little bit of, well, I won't say there's not hope, but I mean, there's hope in the sense that, you know, there's always options to look at in terms of getting the situation in a better position.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing we want to deal with today is why credit cards. I think a credit card is a very convenient way to shop. You know, if you think about the fact that you don't have to carry, I'm not somebody that likes carrying change on them.
True.
So, you know, to be able to take the credit card out and to shop is quite convenient. It's also quite a safe way. Mm-hmm. You know, other than having to carry huge amounts of cash on you. And I think another thing that it is, it's also in the event of emergencies. You know, when you've got to go to a hospital and you need to put a deposit down, it's also quite important to be able to use a credit card as a safe and convenient way to put that deposit down or whatever it may be.
But I think most people, the perception is such that credit cards are for rich people, people that have a lot of money. But it's not necessarily the case, because you get different kind of grades of credit cards, right?
Look, you know, you'll find that various companies will have a blue credit card or a silver or a gold or a platinum. So depending on your income and your expenses and the way that they will assess your criteria based on the National Credit Tax guidelines, you will qualify for a particular credit card which comes with particular limits and particular benefits. And I think it's very, very important that you must do your homework when it comes to the different type of cards that are available, not only with a particular provider, but, you know, go and do your homework. Look at the interest rates that they're going to charge. You know, most credit cards gives you 55 days of interest-free borrowing. So as long as you settle the card within 55 days, you know, you shouldn't be paying any form of a penalty in the form of interest on that debt.
Yeah. But tell me about this. I think for most young people, it's an ideal way, especially when you start working and you can start affording to have a credit card, to start one up, because it adds to your credibility, financial credibility.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the key points about having credit over time and managing it appropriately is the fact that it builds a credit record for you. So that when you then want to go for the car or the house, which is a bit of a bigger credit item, then, you know, you've got a bit of a track record, and that is very important, because the banks don't really look at you unless you've got a bit of a credit history.
Yeah. Now tell me, what's the ideal way of managing a credit card? I mean, obviously, let's say you start on day 1 where you make your purchase, let's say of 1,000 Rand.
Yes.
Within, let's say, 30 days from there, you get your salary for the month, which you're actually technically supposed to use to cover that debt. But if you have something like 55 days of credit-free or interest-free loaning, kind of that, what's the ideal way to manage it?
Well, I think you need to look at your budget. And again, before you go and get the credit, understand what you can afford. Make sure that it's within your budget, that if you've got an entertainment allowance or an allowance where you're going to go and do your shopping at a particular brand where they're going to give you discounts because you're shopping with that card, which is also quite helpful. Just know what you can afford. And if it takes you maybe a month or 2, then that 55 days is quite convenient, because you can say, well, I can afford to pay 500 Rand now and 500 Rand next month, so I can cover that. But don't go and spend another 1,000 or 2,000 in the second month and get that snowballing effect going. And I think the other important thing about practically manage a credit card is hold yourself accountable to somebody. you know, say, well, if I'm going to go and spend something in excess of R1,000, I'm going to phone you and say, look, is this a need or is this a want?
I need to get an accountability buddy. I think you're going to become that after today. Thank you very much for that. So clearly he knows more than I do about credit cards, but be sure to visit woolworths.co.za to check out what Woolworths Financial Services provides in terms of credit cards. I know that they have the silver, gold and black credit cards with different benefits with each one that comes around there. And be sure to tune in a bit later as well. Please post all your financial questions on our Twitter page, tag it with @Expresso, show our name, and we'll be answering them for you later on. Now, I heard we have dancers somewhere on Expresso this morning. That's why I was dancing this morning. Good stuff.
For a free quote, SMS breakfast to 42710.